Are AI stock valuations hitting all-time highs, and is this never-ending cycle of announcements and gains unsustainable? This week, we saw another round of significant partnerships between OpenAI and a major chip maker.
OpenAI making a deal with AMD on data centers.
In today's episode, I'm joined by Madeline Renbarger to discuss how this dynamic is evolving and just how much OpenAI is propping up public tech stocks with the promise of future demand. Later in the episode, Madeline shares her dispatch from Anthropic Claude's pop-up in New York. Hot AI labs are taking a note from fashion hype beasts, but is it really going to translate into new business? Finally, we're going to talk about a story I wrote about how Hollywood's failure to adopt AI video generation products is a sign that companies like OpenAI will be shifting away from enterprise solutions. This is the Newcomer Podcast.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Stephen Johnson here, co-founder of NotebookLM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built NotebookLM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and NotebookLM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
All right, so last week, Madeline, we had Alex Heath on, and there was this thing that kind of stuck in my head from that conversation, which was that at a dinner that he went to that I was not invited to, Tom
was not invited to the dinner.
I was not invited to the Sam Altman on the record dinner.
In case you forgot, Tom not invited.
Yes, if I brought it up multiple times on the show now. Sam, I guess, was bragging after a question, or hinting at, teasing after a question I think Alex had asked him, which was that, like, how are you going to pay for all of these deals that you guys keep announcing? Like, where's the money going to come from? And it sounded like Sam kind of had like a panicked but excited glow in his eyes as he responded, like, I think I figured out a new instrument, a new way to fund all of these deals. And we sort of laughed at the time. We were like, oh, maybe there's not that many ways to fund these things. There's raising debt, there's selling equity, and then there's vendor financing. And I guess selling equity. It appears that he may have actually figured out a version of, kind of sounds like vendor financing, but we may be witnessing what the instrument is. And that's this AMD deal that came out on Monday. And basically, what this deal was about is that AMD is agreeing to give 6 gigawatts worth of chips to OpenAI, worth tens of billions of dollars. And in return, OpenAI is like given warrants so they could purchase up to 10% of the equity of AMD if certain performance targets are met.
That for clarify, that adds up. It's a stock option. Basically, they get the option to buy up to 160 million shares of AMD.
Right, which ends up equaling out to 10% of the company, and that's based on performance targets that are met and whatever. But after this deal was announced, AMD stock shoots up, as has been the case for almost all of these OpenAI deals in the last couple of weeks. Sam and a CEO of a chip company make an announcement, the stock shoots up, and the deal kind of pays for itself in terms of increased equity value. Man, I don't know what to make about these things anymore. It's really gotten to a point now where, like we talked about last week in the story that I did, that like Sam has infiltrated and like integrated himself into like the core structure of all of these publicly traded companies because of all the deals that they keep announcing. How much higher can it get? How much longer can this particular strategy keep going on?
That is I think that's the multi-trillion-dollar question, Tom, right? Like, these deals as they function now, they seemingly juice the stock market and everyone's happy. And the announcement from OpenAI partnering with your company is enough to then fund said partnership. So it's great and everyone's happy. But it just seems to be adding a lot more risk. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be an inevitable crash if some of this doesn't work out. But it does just seem like all of the public tech company stocks that have the ability to partner with OpenAI that are doing so, that is basically keeping us afloat right now. Those partnerships are what are landing. it's basically, I won't even say this is a new point. This is just like, we're hitting our point from last week again on the head with this new AMD deal announcement. It's like, just when we thought it couldn't get any deeper, we get another deal, and Sam sparks this other point. And obviously Nvidia is wrapped up in a lot of these deals too, especially with Oracle. You know, their Oracle spends, billions, tens of billions on Nvidia chips to run its centers for all this compute. So it's not solely OpenAI. Nvidia is very tied into this as well. But I think it's really these two.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Well, and Broadcom and the chips that they're going to be building on their own that supposedly will fit somehow into their, infrastructure play as well. But, the Nvidia deal was really this example of Sam and Jensen getting super close and them basically intertwining their fates even more so. I think we referred to it as some sort of like, well, I didn't use the term, but, it's kind of like a mutual destruction pact across the tech industry, but certainly between those two. But then the AMD deal was interesting because, it is a competitor. They are going to be developing chips that they would be using in lieu of NVIDIA's GPUs. And NVIDIA's stock fell a bit when the news was announced. And so, as close as these guys are, and as important as each company is to the other's future, you are seeing at least some diversification on OpenAI's part. That makes sense, from one perspective. Like it'd be kind of silly to place all your bets on just this one supplier of this critical component. But I don't know if you read the articles or saw the interview. I didn't have a chance to. Like Jensen was on CNBC, and he was like, "Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know they were going to do that. Well, it's a very creative financing deal that they put together."
It's like that John Mulaney bit that's like, I didn't know it knew how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The horse in the hospital.
Look, we're all like making this stuff up in real time, how to finance things at this scale. And, it's funny that Jensen, I didn't see the video, so I couldn't detect, if there was any sort of derision in his, demeanor on the AMD OpenAI deal. But like, let's not throw stones here from the glass house, Jensen. Like, you have constructed an extremely circular deal with OpenAI in which you are giving them, effectively, or there's a letter of intent to give them $100 billion in exchange for them using $100 billion on your chips. I mean, the circularity of every single deal that has been announced here is on a different level. Like, this is a whole economy that is being propped up by circular deals. I mean, like, there are some interesting charts that have come out. Maybe we can flash it on the screen for those watching the YouTube video. But, the relationship between Microsoft, this goes back to the beginnings of OpenAI, right? Like, Microsoft gives OpenAI billions of dollars that ends up being used as an Azure credits, which props up Microsoft stock for a while. There's obviously Nvidia stuff. There's the AMD stuff. The Oracle thing isn't quite circular. That's a pretty standard client, provider relationship.
Right. It's 300. It's a massive deal, but it's for cloud services, which they provide. So,
right. As Alex mentioned on the show last week, like, they are providing, basically Sam put the ball into Larry Ellison and Oracle's court and said, like, you guys figure out how to raise the money that it'll take to build the things that you're asking for. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess we're back at the question that we were at last week, which we don't have any more of an answer to, which is like, how much longer can this go on? How many more of these deals can OpenAI keep striking? And the markets, keep responding in kind and saying, like, great, let's keep pushing up the value of these stocks that you make the deals with. I mean, is that literally all it is? Like, is it just like deals for the sake of announcements that can prop up a stock and then like kind of keep the machine like running?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see, honestly.
Yeah.
I wish I had more info for you. I'll dig around for a scoop if I can. But yeah, it's kind of like we're all in this waiting game together.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, credit to Sam throughout all this stuff. Like, as absurd as it is as a reporter, and, like anyone with, I think, a grounding in common sense, that you can kind of continue to fund stuff based essentially on like future returns. That seems to be the only way to operate at the scale that he wants to operate, right? Like, this is a I don't know, legitimate, but it's like a way that you can get to the hundreds of billions of dollars that he's talking about to build I guess it's just AGI. That's just basically the play.
Well, that's the pitch, right? Like we'll hit AGI and then all of this will be solved. And it kind of feels, like we're floating and waiting for this milestone of AGI to, fix, all of this from unraveling or changing, and also once we hit AGI, everything will be great and it won't really matter as much.
Right. We're talking about, we have the skeleton key to unlock trillions of dollars in transformations across the economy. So this is all a bargain. And you're getting in on the ground floor by, investing at a stock that is suddenly got a wildly inflated PE ratio. Anyway, you want to move on to kind of the other side of it. So we have like hype in terms of stock market appreciation and deals based on future returns. And then we have the hype based on like brand and the, I don't know, emotional attachment that certain people have to companies and large language models. Like, I'll be honest, I've been very buried in a bunch of other stuff. Like, what is going on with the Claude pop-up?
First of all, for a little context, all of the major AI labs and coding assistant companies have discovered basically brand activations. That was a marketing tactic that was foreign to them until last week. And then all of them kind of descended and realized that the New York influencer ecosystem is actually a great place to get your products up and running in the tech sphere outside of San Francisco. So last week, Anthropic hosted a limited pop-up for Claude at a coffee shop owned by the former Vanity Fair editor. It's kind of a sceney place in Soho. And people were waiting in line around the block to pick up Anthropic branded hats and notebooks and to be seen at their brand activated pop-up. It was definitely a huge success. But I actually, if you'll excuse me, I'll go grab the hat. I'll have to run off for a sec.
So you actually went off and did this.
I did manage to wait in the line and secure a hat.
While you're doing that, I can regale the audience with another tale from the Snapchat reporting past that maybe only I will care about. But this is all very reminiscent to me of Snapchat spectacles that came out, I think, in like 2017 or so. This was Evan Spiegel's big play to create camera glasses. And they were very cool. And it was from a vending machine. And they, I think, had one there it is. There's the hat.
Oh, yes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the hat here.
Yeah.
It is a thinking cap, which I thought was actually pretty clever. And it's part of Anthropic. Sorry to cut you off, Tom, but
people got the point. Yeah. Basically, this has been tried in the past by tech companies in New York, playing into like the desperate, hypey nature of people that hang around the New York scene and
love streetwear.
Tell me about getting this hat, Madeline.
I have to say, people are very excited to get the hat. I think it's quite clever thinking cap. It's part of their broader thinking campaign because Anthropic is sort of positioning itself right now as the Apple think different, almost, fun, sleek branded, they have all the Claude merch with its nice design. The logos on the different pieces were clearly done by some thoughtful designer, that rather than, just standard corporate logo on something, it has more of an illustrated touch. I have to say the hats, to plug our own conferences, they look quite similar to our Deus Ex Machina hats. So they got the memo that lowercase font simple is really in right now. But we were ahead of the curve on fonts.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were ahead of the curve on that one. So let the record show. But I will say they are positioning themselves in this way that I think in some ways, given, OpenAI's deeper partnership with Microsoft, it almost seems like there's this kind of foil of like the Mac versus PC campaign that's like, we're the fun, creative model that's actually making you think and avoid slop and not building a social media platform yet. And I think those associations are getting placed in with Anthropic's brand and the actual pop-up structure. I know Cursor is hosting one later in October in New York as well for the Cursor Cafe. So you can pop up and get merch and coffee as well and code live with all your friends using Cursor. But I don't think it has quite the same appeal as, the smart brand in addition to the free hat, with the thinking and kind of how they're positioning themselves in the marketplace. So we'll see how it lands in terms of actually acquiring customers. But I think it was smart.
What describe to me the type of person that was waiting in line to get a hat? Like, what was their scene? Who is their customer?
How would you describe like a tech hype beast? I would say that's who was in line. Like, someone,
that's a real thing now, right? I mean, these people have like
Yes.
taken over San Francisco.
Yes, and now we have them in New York too. There were a couple people I know who, at least from Twitter, claimed to have flown from San Francisco to New York to acquire the hats. So
That is
it's
hypey.
it's a bi-coastal hype train here. And
Yeah.
I would say there were also a lot of people who were, I would say, maybe more in definitely developers, younger crowds who are familiar with all of these tools, but some influencers from just the general creative sphere of New York coming in to check out what is a lovely brand activation and get the hats. So are they reaching an audience that they necessarily want? Maybe. There's people who maybe wouldn't have used Anthropic otherwise that are showing up at this.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this personality type. This is, in one sense, something that's been around for a while. Like, it's the hype beast. It is the person like camping out outside of the store, getting the, oh shit, like what's the shoe drop that they always do?
What,
The
like
company that does the shoe
Jordans?
drop.
Or like,
Not Jordans, maybe not the and ones.
well, Supreme would do all of the drops. Like
Supreme
all
would do the
time.
drops. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no question that is like a monetizable personality. I don't know if is that the Claude audience? Like, are those people coders? Like, the thing that gets me about this strategy is, like, you mentioned the Mac versus PC analogy. Like, Macs was like the creative tool. It was the personal tool. It was like everyone should have a Mac in their home because it shows how independent of a thinker that they are. And also they're like, standing apart from like, the John Hodgman, I'm a PC crowd. But OpenAI is the consumer product. OpenAI is, ChatGPT is the consumer product. Like Anthropic is the API company.
They're the API enterprise company with the leading coding assistant. I know.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's a weird consumer play focusing on how good you are at enterprise and thinking and using your brain business, but it's with consumer language. So maybe in some ways it could be to widen a broader audience and eventually go for this. It
Right.
certainly earned a lot of goodwill. I do agree with you. I'm not sure if this is going to translate into like real money revenue for Anthropic, other than just beating out everyone else out as being the sceney AI lab.
Yeah. Again, it's just like, if you know the people like Dario, the CEO, not to say that Sam Altman is cool by any definition of the word, but Dario is less cool than Sam. Dario is like the geeky, effective altruist dude who, has like stuffed animals in the office and sort of runs the company in a very sort of warm, fuzzy, there's also the kind of, we need to make sure we don't enable the destruction of the world through AI mentality. But I just don't think of Dario as like a hype beast or a scene kid.
I think they're trying to make him a hype beast because at this event they were giving away little booklets of Machines of Loving Grace with this name on them and his writing about the future and his vision. So they're making it a product. They're trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is like clearly some marketing person's like, boardroom or, whiteboard pitch that they were like, I mean, why not? Just give it a shot. Let's just see what happens. That's so, I mean, like, is this going to go on down the line here? Like, do you think like other companies need to respond in kind? Like, are there other model made? Like, does Gemini need to like carve out their thing? Like, are they like for, I don't know, like sports fans? Like, are they like, is Gemini the like, water sports or something? Like, I just don't like, does there need to be branding for all these other competitive models? What is XAI's too? What is Grok? I guess that's just like,
no, they're just anti-woke. Yeah, theirs is just like the conservative AI, I guess, if that is a thing.
They have their own,
the reactionary AI
meetups.
Yeah, they have their own meetups separately. But I don't know. We'll see how this plays. I found it very fun to attend and very smart. And as working for Newcomer, a big fan of live events. I love a live activation. I'm not sure how it's going to play ultimately, other than just getting a bigger brand awareness and being known as something fun and cool compared to actually generating a ton of revenue.
You were mentioning like the New York influencer scene, which I observe only through TikTok. A lot of those people are paid to appear. Did you get the sense that they had like kind of shelled out a bit to get certain people to show up?
The day I went, no. I think there was just genuine interest for people coming. There were people who were paid kind of almost like, like people on the street, like brand people that were handing out these Claude gift giveaways, but mostly it was that rather than, maybe some shiny influencer showing up at this event. So I do think they did have some organic growth, but I won't say that there were like people with millions of followers from TikTok clamoring to get into the Claude coffee shop. It was much more people in the tech ecosystem. If they had flown out like Ayala or one of these, NetCap girl Twitter people, then maybe we could talk. But I think the influencer models are a little different.
Or like the New York like food influencer scene, the guys that are all just showing up at like every new like soup dumpling place in St. Mark's, or the ones who are come with me and you can try the best pancakes, the Golden Diner. Like that wasn't the model, right?
No, that was not the model. They didn't have the VIP list like insulting you if you didn't come down to the Claude coffee shop right away.
Yeah. There weren't like people. What's the influencer scandal that always happens where like all these influencers start like calling out these various restaurants after making like completely unrealistic demands of them? It's like, I want to bring 3 of my friends here and I want like a fully comped dinner. And the restaurant's like, no. And then the influencer then puts them on blast. Yeah. They didn't do that for Claude.
They did not do that for Claude. Claude Cafe, you're safe another day. And we'll see if they do more activations. It seemed like it was definitely a big hit for New York people. I also think per, New York second string here, we like when tech events come to us. So I think there was a lot of demand of the New York tech people just excited to go for something like this. We don't have like a tech activation on every block these days.
Yeah. Well, we're a week away from Dreamforce. In San Francisco, which is the ultimate tech activation wannabe tryhard crew. It's basically like SantaCon for people who like don't really understand what their job is. That's the Dreamforce model.
You should stalk outside and get a hat or some merch or something.
Oh, there's all kinds of merch. They're very like national park oriented. It's very like it's like kind of Ranger Rick type thing with Dreamforce. Yeah, it'll actually be interesting to see. Yeah, it is fun. Sure. It'll be interesting to see if like the models, if any of the LLMs try to like set up similar activation, because like they need, they want play within. I mean, it's a ton of CMOs and CIOs showing up at Dreamforce.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be the perfect time for them to hawk this thing.
If you see a range of AI lab coffee shops with sweet merch popping up around you, let me know.
I'll get the hat.
You'll get the hat.
Yeah. What do you think about the cursor one too? Because there are like obviously a handful of Gen AI coding tools out there, but it does seem like Cursor has the most brand recognition. Like it's the one that in the space people like maybe have the most association with or like emotional attachment to.
I'd say so, yes. From enterprise customers, I would say it's kind of a battle between Claude Code and Cursor in terms of which ones people favor the most right now. Mm-hmm. So I think they have an audience of, rabid coding fans that will be excited to play influencer in New York in a couple weeks for sure. But to your point, I don't know if they're the one that needs this brand activation. Like, where's Windsurf, like doing this pop-up? Where are they going next? Well, Tom, I know you've been digging a lot into Hollywood and AI, and obviously we've been playing around with the Sora 2 app quite a bit.
Is it dead, by the way? Before we go into this next topic, like, really slop maven Katie Natopoulos declared on X that Sora is over.
What a title to retain, slop maven. That's
I hope it makes it around. I hope she hears this. She loves this stuff. I mean, she's really one of the best people at like kind of shit posting out there. I have nothing but respect for Katie Natopoulos. And so when she declares something, it has weight. I care when she has sort of a declaration on the state of a thing that was popular. And she says Sora 2 is over, that she can't get people to use her sign-up codes anymore. And, all the big influencers or whatever that had existed have fled the platform. And its moment, brief as it was, is over. What do you think?
She's right. In at least my understanding, anecdotally, I can't get any of my friends to use my codes that you gave me with your invite. So I've still got 2 left if anyone wants one. I think we'll see. I think there's some
reach out.
Novel. Yeah. If Madeline at newcomer.co, if you want a code.
Prove me wrong. Do you want my code?
Sora's still going. No, I think it's kind of suffering what always like a lot of flash in a pan consumer features do, right? Like once the novelty wears off, like how do you retain users to actually stay? And I thought that they had an edge, as we talked about with Alex last week, around, having your friends participate so that it's a bit more social. But if people aren't really chatting or networking beyond just posting the videos in the feed, do people want to stick around? But it did, drive a ton of signups. So that was an effective play if you wanted to get a lot of people to sign up.
Man, when Alex was on, and Alex is great, and we hope to have him on a ton more, but I disagreed with him at the time that this was, a long-term play for OpenAI on Sora specifically. Like, I think to me, it had all the makings of the Studio Ghibli moment or any of the face filters that had popped up on Snapchat or, I'm not huge on TikTok. My account certainly is not huge on TikTok, but as a user, I don't spend a ton of time on there. But they have little memes, obviously, that get big from time to time, little games or filters or whatever on TikTok that sort of like run the hype cycle and then disappear. To me, this Sora AI video thing had all the makings of that. And I think that is what it turned out to be. Like it was kind of like a TikTok feature, basically, that got its own app to its own credit, but effectively ran through in a very short period of time the excitement and then sort of another toy that you put back on the shelf.
Yeah, I guess it could say if the feed itself was the launch and that was the big product, maybe it hasn't landed yet or is suffering. But if the tool itself was to get people to sign up and test their video features and get a lot more training data, then afterwards, after getting all of that, then it was a resounding success. So it's kind of like, it's hard to launch a feature as a standalone company, but they can launch it within OpenAI and still work and get a ton of information out of that.
Right. It's always movable goalposts with it. So, and it would be stupid to call Sora a failure by any extent, but it does seem like the people who had dubbed this like oh my God, they just made TikTok wildly overshot, the attention that this was going to get from people. I think
we all ran back to TikTok.
Yeah, well, a lot of these videos made their way to TikTok.
Well, yeah, they're also all getting, you can save them, so they're getting posted on other platforms. I've seen Sora videos everywhere on TikTok and Reels. Sure. So obviously that's promotion for OpenAI, but people aren't sticking around on the Sora feed. They're using Sora, the app, to make the videos and then sharing them elsewhere.
Right. Which, I guess back to OpenAI is why they're such an interesting company, because they truly are doing everything. The number of products and strategies that they are juggling at the same time is incredible. And it's like at the same time that they have basically attempted maybe to build a TikTok and got to number one in the App Store and got like a huge amount of viral buzz, they're also becoming like the next hyperscaler and building, and they're also going to be like the next big coding tool. And they're also the next Google with their search tools. And it's like not even really to Snapchat's detriment that like Sora may have like peaked and fallen off. It's just like another example of like what their ambitions can be when they're like really dialed in.
Watch out, Elon. OpenAI is coming to be the everything app.
That's the everything app, I guess. Well, and you saw Elon's response to this, right? Like he's been pushing like the next gen Grok AI image tool constantly.
Oh, yeah. He's trying to catch up. They're out Eloning Elon right now.
Yeah. I happened to be in LA at around the time that Sora was like peaking. And I've been doing this reporting for this other story that I'm working on about Hollywood and AI. And I was at this dinner with a bunch of people from, kind of traditional Hollywood world, like the studios and also tech executives. And it was kind of fun to ask around about Sora in this moment that, they had so aggressively disregarded IP.
Wait, yeah. What did they say when you were there?
Well, I guess first of all, I had earlier that day talked to Varun Shetty, who is the head of media partnerships at OpenAI. And he laid out to me, which we later published in the newsletter, one of their thinking around IP and why they decided to allow Sora initially to kind of let people have a lot of looseness with their ability to create likenesses of, very famous characters. Like, I don't know, I made something with Peter Griffin. I did something with Kermit the Frog. It wasn't that hard in the first couple of days to basically get these guys to do whatever. And Varun's response to me was like, one, like, we want to give people the freedom to create what they want. And, you know, the more guardrails we put in, you know, the more that's kind of hemmed in. And then the other side was also everyone else is doing it, basically. Like, we didn't want to be at a competitive disadvantage. And I think they got a lot of heat for saying that. And later that day, Sam put out a blog post saying like, oh, we're switching our policy. And we've moved away from, you know, opt out to opt in. And basically that whole period where, you know, it was the Wild West of IP violation became not that. And things, you know, really got hemmed in. And so that was interesting on its own. And
maybe that killed a little bit of the Sora engagement too, because people liked the novelty of making Rick and Morty trail cam footage.
Yes, 100%. I think again, that probably would have worn off too, but there's no question that like it definitely slowed the momentum of the whole thing. But at this dinner, you know, I brought up, you know, Varun's comments, and the response was like, you would only say something like that, this being Varun, or OpenAI in general, if you didn't really care about Hollywood, if you didn't really view them as a potential client for your technology. And, you know, it's been interesting to see the evolution with OpenAI and the movie industry, the entertainment industry, even just in the last year, because a year ago when they were doing Sora, V1 Sora, they were taking lots of meetings with all the studios and basically trying to show them that they didn't bite. And, you know, this is a very useful tool. You should work into your workflow. And we're here to be a friend. And
almost like the Runway model, but their own version, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Runway is interesting because they actually have signed a major partnership with Lionsgate. And
right.
So they have kind of embedded themselves as closely, well, relatively closely with the entertainment industry. OpenAI is still this kind of foreign body. So the perspective was like from Sora V1 to this one was a pretty stark change in their views on the industry. And it's one thing to like go to the meetings with people as they were like a year ago and say, oh, we have this tool, you should use it. It can make your lives all better. And, you know, we're here to help. Whereas this one was like a fait accompli. We're barreling in. We'll give you the option to opt out, but otherwise don't be surprised if you see, you know, Pikachu on the grill. And it's, you know, that's just a choice. Like Hollywood is sensitive. You know, people really take this stuff very seriously. That, you know, the town is run by lawyers, and when you go about it in the way that OpenAI did, they certainly sacrificed a relationship with the industry in exchange for virality. And I think that was the biggest takeaway from these people. Maybe
OpenAI was just taking the calculus that they don't need the Hollywood industry to do what they're doing. They can exist as the everything app without it.
Right. Well, there's basically two ways into it, right? It's either like they've decided that there's way more market share and money and attention to be given to short form, and basically, you know, living in the AI slop TikTok
verse.
Yeah, TikTok apocalypse. Or sloppocalypse.
Sloppocalypse.
Yeah. There's more, you know, more value to being there than in trying to like ingratiate yourself with Hollywood. Like that's one choice. The other choice is maybe they're like, well, we'll just get so big that we'll be inevitable, that we'll have such a good tool that it doesn't matter if you hate our posture because we're just, you know, unavoidable. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Like where does OpenAI go in terms of their? I mean, you're a movie fan, like you care a lot about, you know, the future.
Yeah. Of Madeline Renbarger, noted movie enthusiast on this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if they're choosing to kind of not go the way of Hollywood as they are, I think these other apps that have market share that are sort of tools like a Runway or video editors or animation tools that appeal more specifically to the industrial creative market rather than the social media creator market, have enough of a market share to fill that gap. And I kind of think they don't necessarily need it. They can play in social media world. They don't need to play in Hollywood world. And it's not, I mean, I love the movies, but they're not as big of a market as what their ambitions are. You know, it's not
Totally.
the industry it once was. So why do they
Totally.
need to capitulate
They don't need
at
it.
all?
They don't. Right. That's exactly right. They don't need it. It's for, there is obviously a market there, but it's, largely for kind of artistic, ethical, emotional reasons at this point to be
if anything, it's
hoarding.
a brand courting, rather, like to be known as the friend of the artists and get better, cred with the normies about that. It doesn't have any like business value.
Right. And it's interesting as an evolution just within the tech world, because 5 to 10 years ago, it was extremely important for a lot of up and coming startups to announce that they had gotten a famous actor on their cap table. It's like we all remember, Robert Downey Jr. has backed Maker Studios, or Ashton Kutcher. I mean, he's probably a more
he's a
legit
VC
investor.
now.
Yeah, he's a more, legitimized investor as much as any VC is a legit investor. But yeah, like an actor it was just kind of part of the thing. Like in your A round or B round, you gave some allocation to an actor, and you don't see that anymore. And I don't know if that is because the nature of being a celebrity is just different, and Hollywood doesn't have the same control over culture as it did, 5-10 years ago, or I don't know, it just never worked that much in the first place, so people just moved on from it. But this feels like a part of that same kind of trajectory of like Silicon Valley just not needing Hollywood one way or the other. Anyway, I don't know. I had a good time in Los Angeles. More to come on that front, by the way. So
stay tuned. Subscribe to Newcomer to hear more of Tom's thoughts on Los Angeles.
Yes, and Hollywood. Well, anyway, to Hypebeast Madeline Renbarger, signing off with her thinking cap.
Yes, gotta flex the thinking cap once again. Like and subscribe. Thanks so much. That's our show.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Listen to new episodes every week wherever you get your podcasts.